if you can already believe it, it's almost going to be August. And we're almost not, I don't want to say halfway, but like it's week 9 of the CFL season. And when I first talked to Britton Gray, who's back with me for the 3rd time of this year from CJME News and CKOM News, I almost butchered that. Where's the season gone? It's crazy, you know?
I was just saying, it feels like sometimes I blink and also we're in August or 4 weeks have passed and it's like, holy, the CFL season goes by quick, but it is exciting.
Since we last spoke, it was week 3. Obviously, there's a lot of chaos that's ensued since, like, you know, obviously the Ryder Argo game among those. Has there been a significant, like, just storyline that's really, like, it's non-Ryder related that's really jumped off the page for you?
I mean, I think it's quarterback injuries, right? Every team outside of Hamilton with Bo Levi Mitchell has had a backup. The Toronto Argonauts even, they didn't want to come in with Nick Arbuckle. They were hoping Chad Kelly would be back. That's not the case. And so it's becoming a little bit of an issue this week, right? Vernon Adams Jr., Zach Collaros, both of them are out right now. So that's something to keep an eye on because, as we know, quarterback injuries can completely flip this league upside down real quick.
1,000%, because like even it was announced, it came down, it was like first reported, like not reported, but I had gotten some whispers of Chad's 6th game during the game. And then as I was going to the press conference, that's when it was like made official of like, hey, it's on the transaction wire, it's here. There's been a lot of people just asking like, whoa, like, you know, why not sooner? Why not this? Or like, oh, what's going on? I'm just like, it's a leg injury that is a make or break, not just for the season, but for his career and long-term longevity outside of football, to where I don't blame the team for taking it the safe approach. And at the same time, too, the Nick Arbuckle that I think people had saw throughout the first 3 weeks of the season is not the Nick Arbuckle who we see playing now. But the Zach Collaros one is weird. Vernon Adams, I'm trying to remember what exactly happened. I didn't pay too much attention to the Calgary-Montreal game from last week, but look, you're going to have PJ Walker, which we don't know what to expect from him, but even I got to give my roses, though, for all the backup quarterbacks that have come in, though. In the one game he played, Jake Maier looked really good for the Rough Riders. Mind you, BC looked not good, but Jake Maier was really good in that one game he played it so far. So, like, I feel like if we're turning it now to your Riders, Trevor Harris has looked good this year, but maybe they found something with Jake Maier there in the Prairies.
Maybe he didn't turn the ball over, right? That was the thing with him, was he threw interceptions at terrible times with the Calgary Stampeders. He protected the ball. At the same time, the offense didn't look too inspired with Jake Maier back there. It just felt like it was missing something. It felt something was off. Now, that's like I said, he cut down on the interceptions. That was my biggest gripe with him coming over and starting, was the interceptions. Didn't have one.
Yep.
Positive first steps. Trevor Harris is still the straw that stirs the drink in Saskatchewan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm talking like 26, 27 and beyond, potentially something with Maier. No. Trevor Harris is the then and now, but it's the future. I think, Jake, there's potential there for, you know, hey, if Trevor Harris calls it after this year, it's not like they have to look far and, you know, go out and make a trade and try to get a new quarterback in the building. You can try it out with Maier. Then if it doesn't work, you know, back to the drawing board for 2027.
Listen, with Trevor Harris, if he moves on, Jack Cohn in Saskatchewan is someone to pay attention to. He had a really solid camp. He'd impressed enough that the team kept him on as the 4th quarterback. If it's him against Jake Maier, I wouldn't be willing to say Jake Maier automatically wins that battle. Jack Cohn has looked really good when given opportunities, and he took a step forward. That was the thing. He was a rookie last season. This year in the preseason, I thought he looked a little bit more comfortable, taking steps forward. So I'm going to put that out there right now. Jack Cohn, someone to kind of keep an eye on as maybe a possible starting quarterback in the CFL.
Big Ten and Notre Dame legend, too. Where can you go wrong with that one? One thing I want to ask you about, because you're here now, the game against Calgary, look, it was really weird, the air index thing. My big question with that one was you know how like sometimes like thunder and lightning, it's like a full shelter in place, like get people to the course. With the air quality being what it was there ever like a fan concern for the stadium, or is it more just the league saying like, hey, we don't want the guys to go out there, go out and play?
It was just the players. The Riders were running through all their traditional game day videos. They extended the $5 beer, so the fans got an extra 45 minutes of $5 beers, and the fans were just out there. As far as I know, concessions were still rolling. They pretty much had a game of concessions where beer, but no game was played. It's just the players didn't come out. The cheerleaders were out. They did their routines you would see throughout the game. They did a lot of things, and the fans were all just in their seats kind of waiting, and there was really a lack of communication from the CFL. That's something we've talked about, that when this happens, the fans need to be alerted, because there was about a 2-hour stretch where everyone's just sitting there waiting. What's going to happen? Then out of nowhere, we get this thing from the league that says they're going to try for an 11:15 p.m. kickoff to try and get the game done that night. It was a little ridiculous. That needs to get fixed. But what was hilarious was the next day when the game was played was because they had ran through all the concessions. They had ran through a lot of beer. They kind of allowed fans to bring in their own snacks. So you had got like 4 guys carrying a large sub sandwich into the game to share because you could bring in your own snacks. So that was pretty funny.
I've seen the same thing too, because the Blue Jays are like the one Toronto team that kind of have the lax concession protocols. You'd see people like bringing in like full pizza, like a backpack full of like lunch bags, coolers, etc. The giant sub thing is hysterical, because I know I saw that they did, and I also saw the $50 I think season ticket holders got to spend at the store, which I thought was nice as well. But no, going back to the league thing, I just think it's because, with the weather, I feel like it's usually a thunder and lightning thing. It's not, hey, smoke quality is bad, we don't know how to prepare for this. Because wasn't there the whole thing of, if a game's delayed more than 3 hours because of weather, it's either postponed or the game's straight up canceled?
That's another thing with the CFL weather policy. They have that 3 hours, but that's only if the game kicks off. There is no policy in place for pregame. So if a game doesn't kick off, they can postpone it as long as they want. And it was nearly 4 hours. They tried to hold the fans there until the game was eventually called. So we found that out about the CFL weather protocol, because we all assumed 3 hours after the scheduled start time, that's when they would call it. But no, turns out there's not actually a policy in place as of now for if the game just doesn't kick off. So that was something we learned. And with the smoke, it's tough because the wind was blowing. Like in Saskatchewan, the wind was going. They saw Moose Jaw had cleared from a 13 down to a 3 in an hour. They thought that was what was going to happen. And for the first time ever, the wind just died here. It just stopped. And so that smoke plume kind of just hung around. It went from a 25-kilometer-an-hour wind to 3. Like it disappeared. And that's why the kind of forecasting was off, because they didn't expect the wind to just completely die like that.
Okay, and then the only other thing I heard about that night was just apparently the Stampeders had to stay at the university dorms because they didn't have their hotel booked for the next night, because most people they'll like the Rough Riders this weekend, for example, probably fly out Friday, stay Friday in Montreal, and then Saturday night, right back to the airport, hop on a plane and come back home. So they did that. But I also heard stories of like fans sleeping in their cars, because like you had mentioned, fans drive 3, 4, 5 hours to go there. Yeah. Probably hotels are at a very limited spot. So it's just one of those like weird incidences where everything kind of came along and came together. But you know what? I just wanted to ask you, because you're the one person I know who was really in the thick of it there in Regina.
Yeah, well, you're right. The Stampeders, some were at dorms. Derek Moncrief lives in Regina now. He's pretty much from Regina. That's where his I think they're married now. His wife, or at least fiance, that's where she's from, and so he's pretty much moved here now. I don't know if people were staying at his in-laws' place. They were trying to find anywhere for the Stamps to stay. I think maybe Moose Jaw was out there as a place they probably went. So it was just all the little things they had to figure out, because you think of just the players. Well, security at the stadium. You need to have security. And we had Country Thunder going on. That's the big country music festival out here in Saskatchewan. And so that's going on. So security, could you find that? Could you have concessions? The referees, are they available the next day? The TSN broadcast, can the TSN broadcast be changed? So a lot of different things had to kind of come together for them to be able to postpone it. And congratulations to them. Like, that's a lot of hard work. They did find a way to play the game. I respect them for doing that. But in terms of, as you mentioned, fans, I had people on my Facebook asking for places to stay because hotels were all booked and they weren't going to drive home. So I don't know if anyone actually stayed in their vehicles, but it wouldn't have shocked me, because it just, like I said, it took too long. You have to talk to these fans, allow them 2-3 hours in to say, we're monitoring it, we're not sure. Let them go home. than just 2 hours of waiting there, and all of a sudden 11, you're just finally saying there's a drop dead time.
Yeah, no. I feel like the league, like, I think there's a lot of learning lessons with the league this year, just with the new commissioner. But like through everything with Stuart Johnson, I feel like it's like learning on the fly. But now it's like, hey, we had this situation. We're gonna prepare for it for next time. So hopefully the smoke's on an issue, but it's just one of those things, I guess, with more forest fires occurring, sadly, that is something you gotta watch out for. But moving on to the Riders now, obviously last week, not the best week for the Riders, scored out a 21-18 win. Just figured to ask you, what was the good, what was the bad? Was it just an off night for the Riders, or was it just, Cody Fajardo was throwing some unexpected punches that the team wasn't ready for?
The good was the Riders had 8 sacks. They sacked Cody Fajardo 8 times. The defensive line was feasting. The offense for most of that game looked fine. The bad was they once again didn't close it out. That game was 21-4 heading into the final quarter. The offense, I think, went 5 straight drives with 2 and outs. That allowed Edmonton to just continue on. They get a big play, a 57-yard, I think it was, touchdown. And that's been the main criticism with this team right now. I find it hilarious right now. In Saskatchewan, the biggest issues we have is the team isn't winning by enough because they allow teams to stick around. BC nearly completed a comeback. The Edmonton Elks, they nearly complete one. People were saying on our post-game show, thank goodness they played Edmonton, because if that was Winnipeg, they probably lose that game. Though with how Winnipeg's playing, we discussed that. But anyway, the Riders right now don't have that killer instinct. They aren't able to put teams away, and that's my concern right now with this team. I think they can find it, but right now, if you're up by 21 points, if you're up big, don't allow a team to stick around, because the Calgary Stampeders, they're good enough where they'll make you pay for that. Winnipeg has enough championship experience. They'll do it. Toronto, you do that against them. Who's to say they can't do it? They're defending Grey Cup champions even without Chad Kelly. And so that's the big concern right now. Put a team away. I doubt we see that happen against the Montreal Alouettes, but that's the really big thing with this team right now. I need to see them put the team away and not let them come back, because it could lead to something terrible happening late in the season.
So, as someone who bet Edmonton plus 10.5, mainly just because I thought there were too many points, and Edmonton was I didn't expect what they did. I just want to get from your point of view as someone who's there around the team all the time. Hey, what is it, that killer instinct? Because learning about that, just because now, hey, 21-4, D-line held its own, but then the offense has to hold its own as well, to where you get a good complementary football game. That's what the Toronto Argonauts did Saturday night. I'm going to put my little twist on it now, just to say, hey, that's why I blurted out, you're welcome. Because for me, what I saw from Toronto was a complete football team. That was probably their best game they had played since the Grey Cup against Winnipeg. But more than anything from Winnipeg, for me right now, I didn't understand, there's 2 things I didn't get. The D-line, they did get 5 sacks. Brady Oliveira was a non-factor in the offense. Their one touchdown was a fumble 6 that they got a scoop and score, and the other one was a pass late in the game. I'm blanking on who it was, but for the most part, just Winnipeg. I think this is, I don't want to say the clock striking midnight, but the last 3 games for them have been very un-Blue Bomber-like. They're just making weird mistakes, not playing complementary football. Zach just looked off kilter. I was always concerned about him, just because when they say he was fine from a concussion, that doesn't mean he's fine. And then now it's just, hey, he's hurt all of a sudden. Michael Shea's very tight-lipped when it comes to revealing all that stuff. He said nothing in his post game. Today it was just, Chris Trevler's playing Friday night, so, which also Ryan Dinwiddie said they have a package already ready for him defensively as well. So it's not last minute, they were expecting Trevler to go. But this is a league all about getting hot at the right time. And look, the Argos, they stubbed their toe early. Like you said, they can come back against anyone. We also found out they can also take a foot off the gas against anyone, as we saw 2 weeks ago in Montreal. So they're looking good right now, to where if they can string together some wins and go towards, because I still say this, that they play August 23rd against BC. In between then, they have Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Ottawa, even though it's Ottawa and Edmonton. If 2 and 5 can become, let's just say 4 and 6 even, and if they're at 5 and 6 or 6 and 5 going into Labor Day, they're basically heading on to the right trajectory to potentially have a great September or October, but their October is Hamilton, Saskatchewan, and Calgary. So now that we know that Hamilton, because that's the other thing too, Hamilton, I don't want to say it's their year, but if there was ever a year to really push chips forward on them, this is the one. Because look, last Sunday I was like, okay, like I don't know what Hamilton's doing, and then BC's defense is just their defense has really been the crux of the season so far, where it's Nathan Rourke can play great and look great. But the defense is only going to get you so far. It's kind of like if a starting pitcher in baseball has a great game, but then the bullpen sucks.
Yeah. No. Sorry, I was going to say with the Lions. Yeah, their defense has been terrible. Let's call it what it is. They can't step up at the right moments.
That's literally it. Like there's these. I think they call. I see them on TikTok all the time. 3 down bros, and they always just go through like. They'll always say like, like, hey, keys to the game, or like what they were disappointed in if they lose, and every time it's defense and the recent losses. It's just, you know what, hey, defense wasn't there, which is just weird considering they have Matthew Betts now, and I thought he'd be a force this year, but kind of off on that one. But anyway, we're not going to step any forward. We got week 9. We got 4 great games to look at, as always presented by our friends at Gents Boutique. Calgary and Ottawa kicking the action off in the nation's capital. Will it rain? We don't know. It usually rains in Ottawa. But you're going to have I believe Drew Brown's going for this one against PJ Walker as announced. I'm thinking this is not going to be the most exciting game, but I still can't pick Ottawa. Ottawa is kind of in mind. I was waiting for you to say this. When it comes to terms of me gambling money on the Ottawa Redblacks, they're put into the Harry Potter bedroom before he went to Hogwarts under the stairs in the little broom closet. That's where the Redblacks are for me for betting wise right now. So I'd rather lose money betting against them as opposed to losing money betting on them. So for that reason, I think this is a low scoring game that, Calgary kind of gets back into one because they had such that disappointing loss to Montreal last week as well.
Hey, who's the only team to beat Calgary this season? Well, outside of I guess Montreal.
I trusted them. I trusted Ottawa against Edmonton, and it burned me. So until then, I'm just like, that's my thing. They're in timeout. They're in timeout right now. That's why I made the Harry Potter reference too.
I've been kind of looking forward to this conversation because the week before that game, I had picked Ottawa, and I was feeling real good that the Ottawa Redblacks go out and knock off the Stamps. The Stamps are the frauds. Completely wrong. Ottawa has just been terrible since then. The Stamps have been good. And I'm very curious what the feeling is in Ottawa right now in terms of how hot the seat is for Bob Dice, because it feels like they're killing themselves more than anything. It feels like the Ottawa Redblacks are committing mistakes that you just can't do. And you have to wonder if a coaching change might be it. But I like Drew Brown here. And not only is it PJ Walker, but Alford is out this week. Damian Alford, the dynamic rookie the Stamps have. I'm not sure if this turns into a Dietrich Mills game or not. If it does, the Stamps win. But once again, I'm going to lean Ottawa just because I like Drew Brown when he's been healthy. He just hasn't been able to do that this season. But I think he provides that boost needed while Calgary, PJ Walker didn't look good. We'll see how he looks after a week of game planning. But against Montreal, it wasn't good.
No, that's it wasn't good against Montreal. Montreal, like I said, they squeaked out the win. Dogs making it their annual appearance. But then after this, when you say that, Rick Campbell's right there. Everyone's saying, they could get Tommy Condell. They can go get Mark Mueller. I think that would be an off-season thing with Mark Mueller more than anything. I don't think he's going to up and leave, but I think that's a full cleaning if they don't get it right. I think it's Bob Dice and Sean Burke both going, because more than anything, we only talk, and I stress this more in NFL football and never CFL football, but the game management by Dice sometimes has been very suspect and questionable this year.
I agree.
Because for them, they have Toronto, they have Winnipeg, and they have Edmonton before they have a bye Labor Day weekend. So if 1-6 turns into 7-8-9, if they're 1, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10. If they're 1-10 or like 2-9 going into that bye week, I think there's a chance that Bob Dice's Labor Day is not going to be exactly, all fun. It's going to be all fun and pretty. I think that's a potential cleaning, because then you can just get rid of and finish off the year and then 26. And Friday night, a game that is a match from last week, Toronto and Winnipeg. My only question is here. The line was originally at -6.5 Bombers. It's now come down to -3.5. But after what I saw last week, everything aside, I have to go Toronto. Winnipeg is, I know everyone's waiting for the Blue Bombers to get right, but I said the same thing a couple weeks ago when they played Calgary, and Calgary went into Winnipeg where they rarely lose and completely dog walked them. They've been dog walked 3 games in a row now, and I'm not saying Toronto's going to do the same thing Friday night. I think it's going to be a closer game, but Toronto looked really good last week to where, and this I meant to say this earlier because I said this to Winton after the game. That was the Argonaut team I think everyone has been expecting to see. And if that's the Argonaut team we see going forward, they'll be in the playoffs, no problem.
Yeah, I agree. I would go with Toronto, and I feel confident in doing so. Something is not working in Winnipeg right now. It's not even just the health of Zach Collaros, because Zach Collaros is once again throwing more interceptions than touchdowns. It is what it is. Maybe I don't know why this team refuses to run Brady Oliveira when he's clearly their best player, but sometimes he just disappears. I've never understood why that happens. I would always, no matter if you're down by 20, I would still try to get him 25 carries because he's so dynamic of a player. But if something's going wrong, I think I read or maybe listened somewhere that this is the first time the Bombers have lost 3 straight games by double digits in nearly a decade or over a decade. It's been a long time, but it's going terribly. Let's call it what it is. That team doesn't look good. That defense all of a sudden is playing poorly. Their special teams have issues, injuries on offense. There's not a lot to like right now in Winnipeg.
Also, this year, I just looked it up as well. Brady Oliveira is yet to crack 100 yards rushing in a game. He's had 4. Obviously, he was hurt. He was hurt for the couple of games back in June, but 49, 61, 68, 82. Besides the opener where he averaged 24.5 yards, he's averaged 4.7, 4.5, and 6.3 with all of his longest carries under 20 yards, the longest being 18, apart from the home opener where he had 43. So if the Bombers want to get going, get your best player going. I know they want to try to throw the ball. Jason Hogan's kind of like doing weird like Dr. Frankenstein things with that offense, but stick with your bread and butter. Chris Trevler can do Chris Trevler things, but we saw in the home opener, because that's one thing I said where I was like, he really showed me that, like, hey, he can still chuck the ball. But because I think Winnipeg's one of those teams where if they limp into Labor Day, it could get ugly, which, look, Rider fans are going to love to hear, but if they don't rewrite, I know they're 3-3, but that's a very concerning 3-3 in my opinion, where, look, they off to a hot start, but then they've played quality ever since they started playing Calgary and Toronto. It just hasn't looked the same, which I'm so really too. They've played now, after this week, would have played BC twice, Calgary twice, and Toronto twice before they've yet to play Saskatchewan at all.
Yeah, they have a weird schedule this year. 2 byes already. They have one of the weirdest schedules I've seen in a CFL season.
That I always said that too, because I actually had Andrew Patterson from Winnipeg Sports on last week, because their next bye week's not until October 4th. So if they get hurt, they're going to have to start making bye weeks. That's something the Argonauts had to do in 2023 in their 16-2 year. It ultimately ended up costing them, where they had their first bye week 1, and then they had July, and now they don't have one till October. So they have to get through August and September healthy. Otherwise, it could spell trouble in Bomber country. We move on to Saturday, Edmonton, Hamilton. I don't think I have to say, I don't know why I'm saying away teams first, but it's just the nature of me. I got to say nothing else less than, go with the hot hand. The Ticats have looked phenomenal. Bo Levi Mitchell, my goodness, last week. We're going to take away Kenny Waller. Cool. We're going to throw Keandre Smith at you. We're going to throw multiple other receivers at you. We still have Greg Bell. They're finding ways to win. They're finding ways to look really good. I'm going to keep picking the Ticats until proven otherwise. And also, there's something just up with Edmonton right now. I feel like this could be a get right game for the Elks, but like I said, you got to go with the hot hand here in the Ticats.
Yeah, I have more trust in Hamilton to handle business again this week and win, but Edmonton's starting to get desperate. I'd argue the Argos were a desperate team. We've seen desperate teams pull off some weird wins in the CFL. That's what makes this league so great. And this does feel like that week where it will happen, where an Ottawa or an Edmonton team no one really believes in. They're definitely the underdog because the other team's healthy. At least in Ottawa, you can make the argument, right, that Vern Adams Jr. is not playing. They have a lot of injuries. This could be an upset, but I can't pick the Edmonton Elks, because what have they done to show me that they can do it? That's an organization that's struggled recently. But hey, Cody Fajardo, you never know. He's still a very good quarterback in this league.
He is just like I said. I'm gonna go with what I know, and what I know
Yeah.
is Hamilton playing really good football. But fun fact though, underdogs against the spread and straight up were 3-1 last week, with Edmonton being the only underdog to not have won. Underdogs did go 4-0 against the spread last week, so that's just one thing to point out even this week. So this week could be a lot of favorites, which leads us to Saturday night. What I called going into the year one of the marquee games on the calendar: Montreal versus Saskatchewan. Obviously, things have changed with no McLeod Bethel Thompson. That could with no Davis Alexander, excuse me. McLeod Bethel Thompson's going to be starting for Montreal. But with Saskatchewan, from what I've been seeing from your Twitter feed, it seems like Sam Emulis or Elmus. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. He's coming back to practice. Is there anything else for the Riders? That they're getting back in motion, and more importantly, because I have the Riders winning this game on a bounce back. But what do you think they need to do to get right to win Saturday night at in La Belle Province?
Yeah, Sam Emulis won't be playing, which is a shame. He's actually from the Quebec there, so he's from around the area. So that's kind of a homecoming game for him. Yeah. So that's not good. But Peyton Collins, this team really likes Peyton Collins, the left tackle. He was a rookie, started week 1 for this team, got hurt, but it looks like he's trending in the right direction. Lake Corte Moore is great on special teams, good Canadian defensive end. He's out. But Aubrey Miller Jr., another special teamer, great for this team. He's going to be out. But outside of that, this should be the same Riders team you've been seeing. Obviously, someone has to step up for Sam Emulis. That's going to be Tommy Neal, who I believe Argo fans should know pretty well. He played there a couple seasons. So he looks like he's starting this week. And this team has proven all year people will step up, especially in the receivers. Keyshawn Johnson, who my prediction with him from preseason is looking really good. When I said he'd finish top 5 in receiving touchdowns, he's having a great year. Dante Myers can go off. We saw him do against BC. Who's the Joe Robustelli had a massive game when he's been out there. He's a guy. So guys can step up. It's much like when I talked to you earlier about the offensive line week 1. Everyone was concerned about the offensive line. Yes. Until this receiver group gives me reason to concern, I have a feeling people are just going to continue to step up because Trevor Harris is so efficient. He's so accurate. He can help these younger guys by just placing the ball where it needs to be. Don't overthink things. And people have stepped up. So that's why I really like them. And plus, I mean, with Montreal, not only is it McLeod Bethel Thompson, who is he throwing the ball to this
Austin
week?
Mack.
Tyson Philpott's not practicing. James Fletcher Jr. is not practicing. Austin Mack. Daniel Aledijo. I'm not sure how you say if I'm saying his name right. Those are
I butchered a name. You butchered a name. We're good.
Yeah. 4 receivers who are not practicing right now. So that's why I lean Riders, because not only is it McLeod Bethel Thompson, but who is he throwing the ball to right now?
Cole Speaker and Sneed are like the two options that really stick out there where he can go to. I didn't realize I knew Philpott was still out, but I didn't realize he was not practicing this week yet. But I do know the report came out, I believe, yesterday, and Austin Mack's already up for this game as well. The other thing too with this game, I think ultimately is besides the injury front, which I was going to ask you, I know Schaefer Baker's on the 6th game. Where does that stand? Just out of curiosity.
We haven't seen him yet. He is off. He was using a scooter to get around by having that leg kind of elevated. At the last game, he kind of led the pregame chant to get the fans going. It looks like he's at least off the scooter. But for him, he's one of those guys who it's around Labor Day. You might see him. It just feels like a Labor Day time. You never know. I'm not exactly sure, but we haven't even seen him out on the field working. So it still seems a ways out.
Well, not good. It's like it's the same with the Argos, who lost their top right tackle and Ryan Hunter to a shoulder injury, and he's out 6 to 8 weeks. That happened about 2 weeks ago, so he's probably not going to be back till.
He got hit with a car, right? He was the guy who got hit on the scooter.
He was riding a motorized scooter to practice, and he got hit by a car. And my biggest question was, how much damage did the car take? Obviously, Ryan's okay. I've seen Ryan around the team. He's good. Chad's been around the team too. It's just he's basically with Chad the Buffalo thing. He's got a doctor down there he trusts, and then basically that doctor and the Argonauts doctors are working hand in hand just to clarify that situation. But no, I just want to put Keon Schaefer Baker. Just got my Riders guy on here. Got to get my Riders updates. But no, I just think this seems. Montreal got one over Calgary last week. They weren't supposed to. This week just kind of seems like when BC went into Montreal and handled business, because when it comes to the two teams right now, I'm going to lean Saskatchewan to get right, but also to Saskatchewan to kind of remind people like, hey, this is who we've been. This is what we're going to continue to be. Week 1, 2, 3, just all the way through. Because their only loss was the one game against Calgary so far. So it seems like Calgary's either, taking lunch money or taking people's lunches from them. So you know what? That's just the nature of it. But I'm going Saskatchewan on a good Saturday night. Like this is going to be a fun game. Honestly, if you're a fan of football, no matter because look, there is NFL football tomorrow night, but it's the Hall of Fame game, which I'll watch like a quarter of. I'll be like, I'm going to go watch the rest of Red Blacks Stampeders. But with this Saturday night game right here, this is a really marquee matchup to where a win or a loss by either side is really going to start to peel layers of the onion back to show us like, hey, this is what we can expect from the Riders going forward. This is what we can expect from the Alouettes until Davis Alexander comes back.
Yeah, I will say, I will hedge it with the Riders haven't won in Montreal since 2021. That's not a friendly road trip for them. And we do have a little bit of a joke from last season where the Riders were winning by too much in Montreal because Davis Alexander came in that game and led the comeback, which kind of started the whole Davis Alexander era there, really. So weird things happen when the Riders go to Montreal, so I will hedge it with that. But I think the Riders are the better team here, especially with the injuries that Montreal is dealing with now.
So basically, the two Saturday matchups, I'm just going off the same who's better, who's looked better. And for me, that's been both. Like, I know Montreal's obviously won 2 in a row, but one was on a comeback where Toronto just like that comeback was a mix of two things for Toronto. One, they were just not adjusting what Montreal was throwing at them, but then two, like they were just kind of like, putting on cruise control when the Argonauts are a team that's better. Just, hey, foot on the gas for 60 minutes. I'm also looking here too. You guys have the bye week coming up, and then 2 big games. Versus Hamilton on the 16th, and then at Calgary on the 23rd as part of the head-to-head. It's a doubleheader where Toronto plays BC earlier that day. So, a lot to look forward to in Riderland right now. But I think wins like this can really help, go into the bye week with, the good vibes coming off the bye.
Absolutely. It's important for this team. The 6-game stretch, I'm doing a little bit of a piece on that, this next 6 games, because they're combined, that they're facing Winnipeg twice, Calgary, Hamilton. You got Montreal twice in this 6-game stretch. You need to win because this Riders team last year, 5-1, 7-game winless streak, came out of nowhere in the middle of a season. How do you avoid that? That's the key for this team. You don't have to go 6-0, but 4-2 really puts you in the driver's seat in the CFL West Division.
Exactly. That's exactly it right now, because even for them, they can really control their own fate with a win here. You get because Calgary has a tiebreaker right now, and they've lost 2 games. You've lost 1 game. You go there, Calgary. Hey, guess what? They're back into first place. This is under the assumption that they win tomorrow night. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I know the season starts Labor Day, but I think we're really going to start to see the teams that are truly going to be competitive in October, November from the ones who aren't, because besides Ottawa and Edmonton right now, like we say, anything's possible. But besides those 2, you've got 7 teams vying for 6 spots in the playoffs right now. And I think if Toronto gets their act together, you're going to have a 4th place West team that's potentially going to be a, 8-10, 9-9, 10-8 team potentially. So which look, is the reason why I really enjoy this league, because of the amount of parity that exists. You have, like I said, 6 teams competing for 7 teams competing for 6 spots, and we're going to get 3 more great months of football.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. It's the Wild West right now. The East, hey, if Ottawa figures it out, it gets real interesting over there.
Yeah, that's the thing. But here's the thing, though, too, because if Ottawa wins this game, hey, you swept Calgary, it's great. But you still haven't beat a team from the East. That's the big thing holding on them right now, where it's like Hamilton's beaten you twice. You've lost to Montreal. You lost to Toronto in a really weird game where Ryan Hunter caught a touchdown pass. But, besides that, like with Ottawa, it's like, because if Ottawa were to win tomorrow night, I could see it being like a 1 step forward, 2 steps back thing, because that's the kind of season they've been having, where it's like, hey, we have this game where we look good. Oh, and then we have a game where we look bad, to where, like, that's why we're saying earlier, it could get desperate. That's why I'm excited to see them next Saturday when they come to Toronto to see, like, hey, what Red Blacks team shows up there, because BMO Field's not been kind to the Red Blacks in recent memory as well. But this week we got 4. Honestly, the more I look at the slate for this week especially, you've got 4 games with 8 teams that, like, look, control their own destiny with a win, and you know what? It just another punch to the gut with a loss. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens this week, who wins, who loses, and then who goes from there, as you know, we're kicking in high gear with the month of August, where more football's coming. College starts the month, NFL training camps underway, and the CFL's already kicking in high gear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fun time to be a football fan right now when everything kind of gets going. Love the CFL, but I like, every day of football. It feels good to me.
Yeah, it's like that. I know there's a time between, I think it's like just after Halloween till or beginning of October until like Thanksgiving, like American Thanksgiving, where there's football pretty much every single day because that's where college schedules get really weird. NFL in full swing, CFL at that point will be getting to its apex. So it's really wonderful to where now everyone's like on the whole, oh, we only have a month till this is back. Where it's like, guys, you just add another great league to that resume, and you've got a wonderful three-headed monster of football that you can watch. You're going to be entertained. You're going to be doing this. Like I was even saying to my wife earlier with the podcasting, because I usually take a break like around, June, July, but like that was before CFL. And now that it's like a CFL show, that's probably not going to come to like February, probably at this week.
When the Super Bowl's done, that's when you'll enter hibernation for a little bit.
And free agency for that will kick in, and then I'll just be going again because I'm a crazy man. But you know what? It's like the Seinfeld episode: more anything, more everything, more football, more football.
Yeah.
I was originally going to call this episode Lunch Money, but I'm switching to more football because who doesn't like more football?
Exactly.
But we're ending on that note. Guys, week 9 of the CFL. Enjoy it, Britton. Let's hope for another good result for the Riders. It's going to be interesting to see more stories. I'm sure we'll do our Rider catch-up again maybe before Labor Day. But anyway, guys, episode 372 in the bag for YWC Football Talk. Let's have a happy August, guys. And just remember, more football.